After an ending like that on Monday Night Raw, you know I had to give my immediate thoughts regarding the debut slash return of Uncle Howdy and what is seemingly looking like the Wyatt 6 faction that there were a lot of rumors and speculation surrounding. I gotta tell you, it's been a long time since an episode of Monday Night Raw has really came to a close in that fashion. In fact, I don't think it's been on par with anything we've ever seen before in terms of ending on a Monday Night Raw just in general. I mean, you look at the carnage, the level of destruction that was left in the wake of the debut of the Wyatt Six. You look at each individual member, and you know what? Let's back it up. Let's back this up. At the conclusion of Monday Night Raw, there's a lot of emotions running high right now as I speak. Jey Uso qualifies for the Money in the Bank ladder match at the upcoming PLE of the same namesake. And as he's celebrating with the crowd, you see everyone with their phones out. They have the fireflies lighting up the arena. And then we see the house lights go off. It's pitch black, but those lights are still up in remembrance of the fallen Bray Wyatt. And in the process, we hear a similar noise, a similar, song playing in the background. It was the beginning of the intro to the Bray Wyatt theme song, Shattered. One of my personal favorite entrance songs of the last couple of years, especially given that the Bray Wyatt character was one of the more unique characters. This gave an awesome presentation. Every time I hear that song, it takes me back to that Extreme Rules 2022 return that we saw with Bray Wyatt. But then we see the entranceway. And again, it resembles the very same entranceway that Bray Wyatt had came out through of his last tenure with the WWE before his untimely passing. And we see the emergence of what I'm interpreting, and I feel like everybody else can interpret, as Sister Abigail, or Abby, from the Firefly Funhouse run as Bray Wyatt. I think clearly it's fair to say that's Nikki Cross who's portraying that character, but I won't get too in depth of who's playing who or what the rumors and innuendo are regarding this faction. I'd rather just go off of what we've seen. In the process, we see this woman crawling very eerily as the smoke begins to rise, the crowd building with anticipation, and we follow the cameraman making his way through the back. We're cutting through Gorilla, and we see a large hulking figure standing over what seemingly seemed like members of the roster at his feet. One noticeable characteristic of this man was the huge bludgeoning mallet that read the words "help" on it. I think a lot of speculation can be made about who that might be and what it represents. I said I wouldn't get too much into detail about it, but how can I not? A lot to cover in this video, and I think that is the assumption of it being Eric Rowan, who was a member of the Bludgeoning Brothers alongside a fallen Brody Lee. Then as we continue to make our way, we're now full-fledged in Gorilla, and it's teared to pieces. Furniture is flipped over. There's blood smattered all over the wall. And I remember I'm watching this obviously live with my family. I look at my brother and I say, is that blood? Like, are we insinuating that people are like killed in this? Like, it's a wild. You see another figure kind of crouched, sitting in a crouch position on top of some equipment. And then we move over to the right side, and behind a curtain there's another figure. And so finally, the camera pans to Chad Gable, who the internet is running wild over because they're thinking we just saw murder committed on Monday Night Raw. I mean, the positioning, everything, and I saw tweets everywhere letting him rest in peace or whatever. But then obviously the camera pans one more time, and we see the silhouette of Uncle Howdy, who has a new mask design, by the way, and I'm a fan of it. It seems like it's a little bit more liberating in terms of his facial expressions. Hopefully, he's able to compete in it. I think that's the main concern is he able to compete with the mask on? I think that original mask might have been a little bit difficult for him to do so, but the structure of this one seems a lot similar to the Undertaker, 95 Phantom of the Opera mask, kind of like the Kane mask that he wore during the Embrace the Hate gimmick in 2011 through 2012. A lot. And then you see Uncle Howdy making his way back towards the entranceway to greet the fans, and he has his members in tow. And you see this last shot of him approaching the lantern, lifting it, and as he and all his members of his family kind of position themselves together, he says, "We're here," and he blows it out. And immediately the camera cuts right before we have a jump scare of, again, who I'm presuming to be Sister Abigail. Wonderfully done, expertly executed. The list of vignettes and the QR codes and all the hints that were leading to this, I think, paid off. We had, ever since the Bray Wyatt documentary that was released during WrestleMania 40 weekend, and now to this day, this is what it has led to. I can tell you from my point of view, if you guys have been following this channel, you would know this is purely opinionative pro wrestling takes. I'm a fan of pro wrestling. I've been a fan for years on end. And I can speak purely for myself when I say this has the potential to be one of the biggest things WWE has produced in a long time. The buzz that has led to this event, and now possibly the buzz that it can help carry the momentum going forward, quite frankly. I don't know what we have in store with this new faction. I'm struggling to think of what's the end game here, because you can't have this faction lose in the first matchup or the first feud that they have. This is going to be a feud, excuse me, this is going to be a faction that should be presented uniquely. I liken it to like the Ministry of Darkness. My brother and I, we were discussing that we haven't had a real dominant supernatural faction for quite some time. One could argue the Wyatt family, and I think that's a perfectly fine argument to be made, that was like the one supernatural gimmick in terms of a faction since the Ministry of Darkness. Seeing how they're going to be presenting this moving forward, though, will be interesting, because you can't have these guys seeming like they're always in the locker room. They're just another member of the roster. They're not. These are invaders. This is a cult-like mentality in which they want to inflict damage. They want to create a massacre, as they have insinuated throughout the course of these QR codes. They should not be treated like any other character or any other wrestler. I don't know how they're going to go through with it. I'm glued to the television set now, because the way they presented them here on day one, you set the bar so high right now. For better or for worse, will they be able to follow up on it? I hope so. And if you've been following the podcast and following the channel, you would know that I have faith in Triple H and company. You got to give them time to cook. They've had a couple months to develop these ideas and develop the plan. As a plane flies through the background, I'm sure you can hear it. A lot to come out of it. I mean, I'm buzzing with excitement. At the time of recording right now, it's like 11 o'clock in the evening, because I just had to jump on it. This was a fantastic end to Monday Night Raw, with a lot of eventful, storylines progressing. A lot of things happened on this Monday Night Raw, and if you caught my YouTube short ahead of time, before Monday Night Raw aired, I had a feeling that, this was going to be an eventful Monday Night Raw, because there were so many different storylines to tackle, so many different characters to follow, and I'll address that in the podcast episode on Wednesday morning. But I couldn't help myself. I had to record something and just release my initial thoughts regarding this spectacular debut of a new supernatural faction. Again, they haven't given it an official name. Obviously, online, everyone's been referring to it as the Wyatt Six. Wow. Just wow. I want to know what you guys are thinking. I want to know what you guys are feeling. What do you think they're going to be doing with this faction? How did you react to this debut? What are you most looking forward to regarding the story? Who are some of the feuds that you want to see them interact with firsthand? I think a lot of potential could be made. I know, like I said, I spoke to my brother about this, and we said, what if they're hunting down, rather recruiting former individuals who have a history with Bray Wyatt? For example, Finn Balor has a history. Braun Strowman has a history. Alexa Bliss, whenever she's ready to return. You could, LA Knight, who's on SmackDown, you could see so many different names be associated with this group, for better or for worse. I don't think you're going to see them be successfully recruited, which will eventually lead to that feud or to a match that would include the Wyatt Six against these individuals, a lot of potential, a lot of things to discuss, a lot of things to look forward to. So yeah, go ahead, guys, sound off in the comments below. I don't know what to make of it. I'm excited. I hope you guys are as excited as I am. With that being said, we'll catch you in the next video. Be sure to keep an eye out for the J Area podcast for an update. I mean, I might just talk more about, Uncle Howdy and all of that, but keep an eye out. We'll go on and release more as the days go on. Thank you guys for joining me in this video, and I'll see you guys next time.